What's going on, everyone? It's the Fantasy Football Almanac, back at it with another fantasy football video. Today we are going to be discussing free agency losers, guys who maybe went from a good situation to a bad situation, or went from a bad situation to a terrible situation. But before we get into it, if you guys could, give this video a like. I'm answering every single comment. So you guys have any fantasy football questions, would love to talk down below, and subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on so you don't miss another video. With that though, guys, let's hop right into it with our first player. The player who I think has fallen by far the most in Dynasty this free agency period is easily DeAndre Swift. I mean, DeAndre Swift went from somebody who last year was being drafted early in the second round, maybe even late in the first, depending on how high some people were on him, to now being drafted 72nd overall on Keep Trade Cut in Dynasty leagues. I mean, this fall is ridiculous, unprecedented for a 24-year-old running back. The most comparable situation I could compare to this is someone like Antonio Gibson, who last year was being touted as a great running back, but somebody who wasn't getting the full reins in the offense, which we kind of saw with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift 2 years ago, where they trusted DeAndre Swift, but it wasn't a total trust. It was the same thing with Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissic. Then the Commanders go in and they bring in Brian Robinson, who was an immediate threat to the offense. Now, instead of Brian Robinson, we have David Montgomery coming in and becoming an immediate number one threat to DeAndre Swift. I mean, getting a deal worth $18 million is a great deal in the running back market. The only running back who got a better long-term deal this offseason was Miles Sanders, and I think he was a huge winner alongside David Montgomery, but that's a story for another day. DeAndre Swift is a massive loser this free agency period. I mean, it might look good on the surface. You lose Jamal Williams, the guy who had 447 snaps in this offense. But now you go to a guy who could be a workhorse running back and be a great workhorse running back coming from an offense that had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL and a quarterback who didn't check it down and still having 1,100 yards from scrimmage. I mean, David Montgomery is somebody who could absolutely explode and somebody who is surging up my board personally now. At first, I wasn't so sure, but now I am dead set on David Montgomery. I think he will be surging up boards this year. Because of that, I think DeAndre Swift is now relegated to a very fancy, very nice backup running back. I hate to say it. I mean, he's definitely better than a guy like Michael Carter in terms of backup duties. If David Montgomery were to go down, DeAndre Swift immediately again shoots up to be a great running back. But at the same time, right now, he's ranked ahead of a guy like Miles Sanders on Keep Trade Cut, ahead of Derrick Henry. But that's not going to last for long. I mean, March 3rd, less than a month ago, in Dynasty, he was ranked as the RB12. That's less than a month ago, the RB12. Now he's ranked at the RB19, and I think he will be plummeting down even further. DeAndre Swift, my number one biggest loser by far. Let me know down below if you guys think he's the number one biggest loser as well. Would love to hear your opinions. But let's move on to the number two biggest loser. And that is Jakobi Meyers. 2 words as to why Jakobi Meyers is the biggest loser. Davante Adams. Davante Adams last year led the Raiders in terms of team target percentage at 32.3%. He was one of only 4 total receivers to have over 30% team target share. The others being Drake London, who is in a run-first offense. It makes sense, and Kyle Pitts went down. You have Tyreek Hill, a very elite wide receiver, and then Cooper Kupp, who missed 9 games, but arguably had the best wide receiver season of all time 2 seasons ago. So Davante Adams in very elite company. But the problem is Davante Adams is a target hog among all target hogs. This is somebody who could easily just take over a game, have 200 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, and make Jakobi Meyers absolutely meaningless. They do end up bringing in Jimmy Garoppolo, which I do think is a small win because I think he's probably about the same level of quarterback as Derek Carr. Maybe Derek Carr's a little bit better. But anyways, I digress. I think they are around the same level of quarterback. But even still, I mean, Davante Adams is going to dominate this offense for at least the next year. I mean, he is 30 years old, will be 31. He is going to hit an age cliff rather soon, I would expect. Although he still is a phenomenal wide receiver, I don't want to doubt him, anything like that. He will be 31 soon, so maybe long-term this is a good prospect for Jakobi Meyers. But in the short term, I think this absolutely ruins any upside for Jakobi Meyers to be, 1, the number 1 wide receiver in his offense, and 2, to really have a great quarterback to throw him the ball. I mean, going from Mac Jones to Jimmy Garoppolo, not something I'm really excited about. It's fine, but nothing crazy. So Jakobi Meyers, my number 2 biggest loser. My number 3 biggest loser is Dalton Schultz. And I don't get what Dalton Schultz was doing. If I were him personally, I would have wanted to have re-signed with the Cowboys. I mean, he has good chemistry with Dak Prescott already. And I probably would have wanted to have signed a longer-term deal. I mean, he goes out and signs a 1-year, $9 million deal which gives him no job security. Let's say he gets hurt, something bad happens, he doesn't have a good season. I mean, that pretty much screws him. And not only that, he goes to the Texans, somebody who is most likely going to be bringing in a rookie quarterback. If not, it's Davis Mills. Yeah, there isn't too much competition there, but again, I do think the Texans are going to bring in a wide receiver for their rookie quarterback, whoever it may be, Stroud, Bryce Young, whoever it may be. I think they will try and target somebody like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Quentin Johnston, the like. I mean, it's definitely possible. You also have John Mechie coming back potentially, and I think that might throw an even bigger wrinkle into things. So we're talking about a receiving room that might be more crowded with the worst quarterback. I mean, overall, this just is not good for Dalton Schultz. Well, he might be a fine, relevant fantasy option still. I don't think this propels him to have the potential to be a tight end 3 like he was 2 seasons ago. That is for sure. The next free agency loser I want to talk about is Javonte Williams, and I love Javonte Williams. He's near and dear to my heart, but he definitely is a free agency loser here. I mean, for one, they bring in some HPPR, and they actually pay him a decent chunk of cash. I mean, $7 million over the course of 2 years is not huge, but it's a good running back contract. It at least shows that they have faith and want some production out of Samaje Perine. Not only that, I do still think they will end up drafting a running back in the draft, probably later on in the draft, because they do have a fair amount of holes on their team. But I think for sure they will end up drafting a running back, at least for depth purposes, which kind of screws over Javonte Williams in the short term. I think long term, Javonte will still be fine. He is just 23 years old, but in the short term, this might be a wash of a season for Javonte Williams, at least in the first half, because they're going to feed Samaje Perine the ball. They're going to feed whatever rookie running back they bring in the ball. Try and give it time for Javonte Williams to get healthy. Now, if the Broncos start off poor, they might try and rush Javonte Williams back, try and get him back early, because he will be the best running back weapon in this offense. I think that's almost guaranteed. But is it going to be best for Javonte Williams' long-term dynasty? I don't know. I don't really think so. So I do think his outlook overall is a bit worse than it would have been at the beginning of last offseason, but I still think Javonte Williams is a cornerstone asset, as I talked about in my running back cornerstone asset video. You can check it out up here. But either way, let me move on to my last loser, and that is Juju Smith-Schuster. And I've actually seen Juju Smith-Schuster listed as a winner on some fantasy winner and loser rankings. I totally disagree. I don't get how Juju Smith-Schuster could be a winner. You go from the best quarterback in football, perhaps the best quarterback of all time, to now a middling at best quarterback, Mac Jones. Yes, you step in, you are the wide receiver 1. But what does that mean in a Mac Jones-led offense? I don't think much. Maybe he does get more targets, because Juju did only receive 101 targets last season. Maybe that spikes up to the 120s, 130s. But at the same time, these targets are not going to be as quality. Getting targets from Patrick Mahomes, I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. What more can you ask for? Versus getting targets from Mac Jones, I think Juju Smith-Schuster, 100% a loser. Well, I don't think it knocks down his value supremely heavy. I still think it's fine, because he is going to be the number 1 option in this offense. Not competing for targets with Travis Kelce anymore. The wide receivers on the Chiefs were not that great to begin with. I mean, you have Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney. None of these guys are really huge threats to Juju Smith-Schuster in the first place. And there's more than enough passing volume generally to go around in this Chiefs offense. Me personally, I think Juju Smith-Schuster's a loser, but I think he can repeat a similar season in terms of yards with the Patriots that he did with the Chiefs. I mean, he had 930 yards last season. I see that as doable, but I do still think he's a loser. Let me know what you guys think down below, though. As always, don't forget to give this video a like, and I am answering every single comment, so you guys have any questions, let me know. And subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on so you don't miss another video. With that, though, guys, as always, have a good day, a good night, and a good life.